It is right and proper for religious groups, such as evangelicals, to be involved in the political arena.
Political advocacy by religious groups compromises religion itself.
The American Religious Town Hall meeting is now in session.
Welcome, friends, to the American Religious Town Hall meeting, where the discussion of religious, political, and social issues is meant to promote the cause of religious freedom and to help us better understand each other. And now, here's your host and moderator, Pastor Jerry Lutz.
Thank you, Mark. We're so glad that you have joined us for today's program. We look forward to this discussion, particularly in light of the political season in which we find ourselves. But before we get to our discussion, I'd like for you to meet our panelists. Let's begin with the gentleman to my right.
My name is John Peterson. I'm an Episcopal priest, canonically resident in the Diocese of Washington.
I'm Rabbi Jordan Offsire. I am retired, living in Palm Springs, California, teaching widely in the Jewish community in areas of Jewish interest and thought.
I'm Tom Plumley, the senior minister of First Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas. Our congregation is a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ.
My name is Bert Beach, and I live in the Washington, D.C. area in Silver Spring, Maryland, where I've lived for over 25 years and served at the world headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
My name is Othel H. Lakey. I'm a bishop in retirement in the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church residing in Buford, Georgia.
Hello, my name is Mel Robeck. I'm an Assemblies of God minister, and I serve my church at Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California, as professor of church history and ecumenics.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here today. As you can see, we have a great panel assembled here. They're all up on this current event that we're going to be talking about today. We're glad you've taken time from your busy schedules to join us for this conversation. Let's get right to it, shall we? In the current presidential campaign, many references are being made to the evangelical vote, or the role of evangelicals in the political process. This reference is to a section of the electorate throughout the nation, usually characterized as deeply religious, politically conservative, and in the main, Republican in party affiliation. Now, according to the National Association of Evangelicals, the theological roots of evangelicalism stem from the New Testament word evangel, interpreted as the good news or gospel of Jesus Christ. Out of their religious convictions, evangelicals oppose abortion and consider homosexuality as sin. These and other issues require discussion and some resolution by the American people. Now, accordingly, we are going to ask our panelists today to address these following concerns. First of all, though evangelicals have the right, and maybe even the obligation, to advocate their views and take positions on issues important to them, should it not be made clear that they neither speak for nor represent the vast pluralistic religious communities of America, especially those who call themselves Christian? And the second issue, despite their sincere commitment to their interpretation and practice of the Christian faith, do not evangelicals or others risk compromise in their public identification with a political party and or embrace specific political candidates? Then finally, and most especially, does not the advocacy of religious and moral issues in the name of their particular interpretation of the Bible and Christianity suggest the nationalization of the Christian faith, or perhaps some sort of Christian theocracy for America? Now, that is our discussion for today. Let's go back to those who helped to begin our program by making opening remarks. For that, we return first to Reverend Plumley. Glad to have you here today. Could you please expand your thoughts from your opening statement?
Thank you. This is one of those situations where I want to make it clear that precisely what I said. What I said was that it is proper and right for religious groups, such as the Evangelicals, to espouse their beliefs in the public square and to be involved in the political process. I do, however, agree with many of the cautions that are represented in your moderator's statement. It's one of those situations where I think I don't agree with them, the Evangelicals, politically, and I resent the fire out of the fact that they are understood by many and are portrayed by many as the Christian voice, as embodying Christianity, because they don't. But I will nevertheless defend, as someone greater than I once said, defend to the death their right to be and to speak and to espouse their position. You know, my concern is that I don't hear a lot of Jesus in what they're talking about. I hear a lot about abortion, hear a lot about homosexuality, hear a lot about evolution. I don't hear anything about being good news for poor people. I don't hear anything about visiting prisoners. I don't hear anything about welcoming strangers. In fact, I hear the opposite. I hear blaming the poor and separating from the poor and demonizing prisoners and fear of strangers. So I would hesitate to be positive about the evangelicals, the stamp that is put on evangelicals as the representatives of Christianity, but I would not ever say they don't have any right to be here or to speak.
All right, thank you very much. Let's come across the table to Rabbi Officer. You're going to talk about evangelicals today, or maybe a broader sense of our discussion.
Well, just wait a minute and you will,
Okay.
you will hear the good news.
Let's hear it. The good news, as you say. All right.
Thank you. More seriously, I agree with 90% of what Tom Plumley has said, and I do not intend to repeat it. My point of difference is not their right to speak and to be heard. My concern is the phrase partisan political advocacy. I think that it is entirely improper for any religious group to argue its position and seek to influence as an act of political advocacy. And that is my specific concern here. It's all the more intense because I disagree, of course, as Tom does, with what the evangelicals believe and represent from every point of view. But I agree they have the right to speak, but I believe that the separation of church and state is far more important here when it comes to political advocacy.
All right, thank you very much. And now let's hear from some others. Bishop Lakey, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you.
Your
It's
perspective,
good.
please.
It's good to be here. I agree with what both of my brethren here have said. Religion has to be careful that, because it has to be, as I think one of the apostles said, it must be in the world, but not of the world. And to me, that means that the religious point of view must always be, in some sense, separated from the body politic in order to speak prophetically to it. And to get inside that body politic, identify with it, is then to become a part of it, and therefore lose its its revelatory, if you please, impact to say this is God's judgment on what you do. I happen to be a Democrat, unashamedly a Democrat. But I like to believe that when the Democrats are wrong, morally, on justice, then I can say that as a Christian preacher. But if I am so much a Democrat with identify my religion with the Democratic Party, then I lose that ability to tell my brothers and sisters who are Democrats, especially in the South, your position on race is wrong. Your position on criminal justice is wrong. But if you're too much a part of it as a religious person, then you lose the ability to be that prophetic voice that I think God calls us to
Are
be.
you saying that Christians then shouldn't be blinded by politics, so to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, or so tilted in a direction that goes contrary to the principles of Christianity. All right, some of the others then. Dr. Beach, welcome to the program. Your point of view.
I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and generally Seventh-day Adventists are seen as part of the evangelical wing of Christianity. But of course, we don't agree with everything in the evangelical wing. In fact, I don't even know in my own church I would have anybody speak for me. I only speak for myself. Nobody speaks for me politically. I just would not accept that. Our church leaders don't tell us how to vote, how to act in the political sphere, what party is the correct party, and so forth. Adventists probably were a little bit tended towards the Republicans because of Prohibition. And Prohibition was taken out back, everybody drinking, by the Democrats. So some Adventists tend to be more Republican. But there are, in our General Conference headquarters, there are Democrats, there are Republicans, there are those like me that don't belong to any party. I feel it would be below my dignity to belong to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. That doesn't mean I don't vote, but I just don't feel that they can. What they do in politics is fine. I mean, they can do what they want to, do a great job sometimes. Sometimes they do a bad job, and I just don't want to be part of the political structure. And I think it's very wise, and I agree with those that feel that a church should not be involved in party politics in the sense of candidates and saying vote for them and vote for that, and so forth. Sometimes there are issues, especially religious liberty. We would take a strong stand on a religious liberty issue and so forth. But there are other issues. But we do not have anybody speaking for us. We feel that we speak for ourselves.
All right, thank you very much. Next to you is Dr. Robeck. Welcome to the program today. And your thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this
All
program.
right.
I have to tell you. First of all, as a member of the Assemblies of God, you know, I'm a Pentecostal. And often Pentecostals are assumed to be a subset of evangelicals. Even many Pentecostal pastors don't understand that there are significant differences between us. Not the least of which is our willingness to accept the supernatural in ways that evangelicals have basically said this is not proper or right. But there are a range of other issues as well. So, you know, when I speak as a Pentecostal, I can also say that I am a small e evangelical, and that is in the proclamation of the good news, the concern for the authority of Scripture in my life and so forth. So there are a lot of things that I like that. I think that this program so far has shown a caricature of what the media says evangelicals are. Nobody says, gee, Catholics are against abortion and they're loud about that. They single out evangelicals are opposed to abortion. Nobody says that Catholics have a position on gays that evangelicals share or that Pentecostals share. It's evangelicals are really bad because they're opposed to gays. That's not really true. It's just not true. They're certainly for equal rights. They're for human rights and all of those kinds of things. Now, there are evangelicals that take those lines, but they're not, I think, in the majority. I would say there are a lot of evangelicals that I know, certainly where I work. The vast majority of evangelicals are not Republicans, they're Democrats. And I may be a registered Republican, but I vote all over the place, including 2 times for President Obama, and I've voted for Dianne Feinstein for years. But I have a difference between her and Barbara Boxer, who is our other senator from California. I think evangelicals and Pentecostals think for themselves. It's not just that simple. We're not to be put in a box. I would also say that there were many years in which the more liberal establishment, represented by the old Federal Council of Churches and the National Council of Churches, worked with the federal government to say, we speak on behalf of all Christians in the United States, and no fundamentalist, no evangelical should have opportunity to speak on the radio. You know, the radio, FAA, not FAA, but the FCA, you know, was asking, you know, what's your intake on this? And their argument was, keep them off the air. So, you know, we all have our biases, and I have to say that the whole question about partisan political advocacy, all I have to think about is Democratic Party, Republican Party, AARP, any of our religious traditions. We're all partisans in our political reality. There's nothing wrong with everybody having their statement out there in the public sphere. There's nothing wrong with our various traditions advocating for particular positions. But I don't share the kind of concern about evangelicalism at this point that some others seem to.
All right, thank you. We haven't yet heard from Canon Peterson. Your perspective, please.
Well, I'm really picking up somewhat on what Mel said, because I think that it's so easy to put people into categories, and evangelicals are all fundamentalists. They're all opposed to abortion. I think that all opposed to gays, etc. And I think that what Mal has said is certainly true, that this is not the case, and there's tremendous diversity within the evangelical community. And as Mal also said, I mean, there are many strong Roman Catholic bishops who take a very strong stand in relationship to opposing abortion, not being supportive of the gay and lesbian communities, etc. So I think that what we have to say is that there's no Christian body that is monolithic in its perspective. And certainly Bert has just made that very clear, even about the Seventh-day Adventists. You can't label someone because they're Seventh-day Adventists. They are going to be conservative or whatever. 50 years ago, the Episcopal Church was called the Republican Party at Prayer. And, you know, that type of a statement obviously is absolutely false. And it doesn't carry any weight in relationship to the political realities of who and what the Episcopal Church is. And so therefore I think that we have to be very cautious in relationship to how we use our labels and how we define different individuals.
The labels make nice sound bites for the media. I'm hearing this around the table as well. It's a nice, concise little lumping of a group of people whom they might not know anything about. Bishop Blakey, what do you think about that?
That's the whole point of this program. The media, admittedly, have said this. But when you say, what is the evangelical vote in the Illinois primary or the Wisconsin primary, it does not say what is the Roman Catholic vote or the Methodist vote or the National Council of Churches vote. They categorize. And that's the whole point of the program, is that this particular religious group is identified specifically by the media, and all of us get lumped in it.
Well, and that is an important thing, too. I think what you're making is all Christians, therefore, are at risk of being swept into that category in terms of the way they're portrayed.
Yes, and that this is the Christian faith. Yeah.
Yes, Reverend Plumley.
We spoke of it being easy to put other people in boxes or to put other people in particular categories. What I'd like to say, and what I think this program is about, is the fact that it's easy to allow yourself to be put into a category. When you are approached by someone who says, you know, if we're going to get this done, you got to get out the vote in your church. Then something is being done to assume that all of the people in your church are on a particular side, and that's the point at which we become identified with a particular party or a particular stance. And you know, it is very important that Christian people be involved. But it is very easy to allow yourself to be identified with something that includes stuff that you're not really comfortable with.
Canon Peterson, you have 20 seconds,
Well,
literally.
I think but part of that is part of what has happened within the evangelical community. For example, the Christian Coalition. They put themselves into that type of situation in which it becomes an easy soundbite for the press. Jerry Falwell, it becomes an easy soundbite for the press. And so I think that, we as Christian church leaders have a responsibility also to make sure that we are seen as more diversified than that particular perspective.
All right, thank you. That's all the time we have for this segment. It went by very quickly. But the summations are coming up in just a few moments, so don't go away. But do stand by to listen to this important announcement. We'll be right back in a few moments.
Thank you, Pastor Lutz. We hope you are enjoying today's program. If you would like to learn more about the American Religious Town Hall, please visit our website at americanreligious.org. That's americanreligious.org. There you can read about the mission and history of the program, learn about the Town Hall estates, and view past programs by clicking the appropriate menu buttons. Each week, Pastor Lutz looks forward to receiving your letters. You may write to him at the address shown on your screen. Send your letters to Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. That's Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. Thank you for writing, and thank you for watching. And now, back to you, Pastor Lutz, and today's closing statements.
Well, thank you, Mark. We are back, and we'll go to the summations in just a moment. But I would also like to encourage you to visit our website where you can find that good information Mark was talking about. Plus, also take advantage of the opportunity of sending us your messages, whether it's a comment about today's program or a past program, or to make a suggestion about what you'd like to hear discussed on a future program. Let's now go to our summations, and for that, we return to Canon Peterson. You're first.
Yes. At the end of every single program of the American Religious Town Hall, the charter is read. And in the charter, it states that the purpose of this program is to guarantee the freedom of speech to every individual. But I would want to argue that that freedom frequently is in danger. And the responsibility that we have around this table, as well as certainly the listening audience, is to guarantee that everyone has that freedom to be able to speak.
All right, thank you very much. And then Reverend Plumley. Thank you for getting the charter in there too, by the way. Reverend Plumley, your summation.
Neither party encapsulates the voice or the will or the way of God. That simply needs to be said. And in fact, looked at from a world perspective, both of our parties are pretty indistinguishable about a lot of kingdom things. The kingdom will not be brought in by getting folks to vote just the right way or by getting certain pieces of legislation passed. And when we understand that, we can approach our political involvement in a more healthy way.
Thank you very much.
Theologically healthy.
Thank you. Yes, and Bishop Blakey, your summation.
I'm very disturbed when I hear the media talk about the evangelical vote, and no one who are represented as evangelicals talk about letting justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. That evangelicals spreading the good news of Jesus Christ always talks about how to deny people basic rights. So my concern is that if we are calling ourselves evangels, spreading the good news of Jesus Christ, we ought to represent Jesus Christ rather than be partisan in our politics.
Good insight there. Thank you very much. Across the table, Dr. Robeck, your summation.
I agree with much of what has been said in these summary statements. I do think that evangelicals are the whipping boy of the modern media realities, and as a result, I think it's a shame that they get labeled as kind of speaking on behalf of everybody, because they don't. They know they don't. And part of the reason that they organized at all back in the 80s was because they felt nobody was listening to them. So I think it's really important for us to understand separation of church and state is a good thing, I think, on the whole, although there are benefits from being aligned with states in certain parts of the world. But I do think that everybody has the right, and religious organizations have the right to lobby for themselves as well.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Beach.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church has always been strong on separation of church and state. And because probably of the experiences in other countries, I can talk from my own experiences, having been in Spain, Italy, and so forth, and days gone by, there were serious problems and so on. So we are involved in society, and we are creationists. And we are Adventists, so people say, as Adventists, you must be expecting the second coming of Christ, so you're not interested in the world at all. That's absolutely contrary to our outlook. We're very interested in the world because it's created by God, and anything that goes against the creation of God, we are interested in combating. So we're active in society.
Thank you very much, then. And Rabbi Offsire.
In the political arena, no religious group should seek to have its view as the only way to believe, and then on that basis to urge people to whom they speak to vote.
All right, thank you very much. I think this has been a very healthy discussion. Appreciate the definitions that were clarified in some regards. And thank you for tuning in today. We hope that this has been of benefit to you as well. I will encourage you to continue to come back to this program. And then again, we invite your suggestions for future topics that we can consider here at the Town Hall. For now, the Charter of the American Religious Town Hall provides that Roman Catholics, Protestants, Jews, educators, and others may appear on this program and can declare their beliefs without hesitancy. And the rest of the members of the panel will uphold and guarantee that American right to all who will appear, irrespective of race or creed, so that the rest of the world can see that here in America we believe in civil and religious freedom, not only in theory, but in reality. Now, friends, until next week at the same time and over this very same channel or via the internet, the American Religious Town Hall meeting stands adjourned. And may the God of all of us bless all of you.